I never thought my own mother would steal from me. Not in the abstract, not in the guilt-tripped me into buying her something expensive way. I mean, she literally accessed my bank account and transferred out $12,000 behind my back, then had the gall to act like I was the one being ungrateful when I called her out. My name's Nathan. I'm 27, work in IT, and I live in a pretty average apartment just outside of Pittsburgh. I'm not flashy, not loaded, not one of those tech millionaires people assume when you say, I work in tech. I'm just careful. I budget. I save. I still drive the same Corolla I had in college and eat way too much ramen to admit out loud. That $12,000 wasn't just sitting there waiting to be used. It was my emergency fund, my cushion, my if everything goes to hell safety net. And my mom knew that. She's always been complicated. My dad left when I was 6, and since then she's worn the title of single mom like a badge of martyrdom. I won't pretend it was easy for her. It wasn't. But somewhere along the way, she started confusing sacrificing for your kids with your kids owe you everything forever. And when I say your kids, I really mean me. Because then there's Hannah, my little sister, the golden child. Hannah's 24, recently engaged to a guy named Bradley who's basically human sour cream. He smiles a lot and talks like he's always pitching a startup that no one asked for. But he's got this polished, bland charm that makes people think he's way smarter than he is. My mom loves him, thinks he's respectful and driven, and the kind of man every woman dreams of. I think he's a walking LinkedIn profile who wouldn't know humility if it smacked him across the face. Anyway, the wedding's been this looming monster for the past year. My mom is obsessed. It's like she thinks if Hannah's wedding is perfect, it somehow erases every hardship we ever went through. Every family dinner is about colors and themes and Hannah's big day. My input, non-existent. My presence, optional. My wallet, apparently, very necessary. It started small. My mom asked if I could help pay for the suit rentals for the groomsmen. Sure, no problem. Then it was, oh, Nathan, you don't mind covering the bachelor party, right? You're the best man, after all. That one stung a little. I hadn't been asked to be the best man. It was just assumed. I was a little surprised, honestly. Hannah and I used to be close as kids, but we drifted. She went to a fancy liberal arts school out of state and came back, different. She started talking to me like I was her IT guy instead of her brother. Always needing help with her phone or her Wi-Fi or her taxes. Never really asking how I was doing. So when my mom told me I'd be the best man, I laughed and said, shouldn't Bradley pick his own best man? She just blinked at me. Don't be ridiculous. Your family. Of course it's you. That was the first red flag. But I didn't push. I figured, fine. I'll do the speech. I'll smile in the pictures. I'll be the supportive older brother. It's one day. I can get through it. Then came the rehearsal dinner. I wasn't even invited. Yeah, let that sit for a second. It was some fancy tasting thing at a vineyard 2 towns over, and I found out about it from my aunt posting pictures on Facebook. When I asked my mom why I hadn't been included, she gave me this tight, forced smile and said, oh, honey, it was just immediate wedding party and close friends. You'll be there on the big day. That's what matters. I was stunned. I'm the best man. Doesn't that count as wedding party? She waved it off. It was just a little gathering. Don't be so sensitive. That phrase, don't be so sensitive, has been her go-to since I was a kid. It's her way of making my feelings seem like a burden. Like the issue is me feeling hurt, not her doing something hurtful. I should have walked away right then and there. But I didn't. I sucked it up, like I always do, because my mom has this way of turning everything into a guilt trip if you push back too hard. She raised me alone. She worked double shifts. She sacrificed everything. And she reminds me of it constantly, especially when she wants something. I thought that would be the worst of it. A little exclusion, a few passive-aggressive digs. But then things started getting weird. About 3 weeks before the wedding, I noticed some strange activity on my account. Not huge transactions, just a couple hundred here, 1,000 there, but all clustered around vendors I didn't recognize. A floral shop, a catering company, a payment to a DJ. My stomach sank. At first, I thought I was hacked. I went into full panic mode, called my bank, froze my debit card, and asked for an investigation. They said the charges were authorized through my linked online banking. I checked the access logs, and there it was. Someone had logged in from my mom's IP address. That's when the nausea hit. I wanted to believe there was some explanation. Maybe she mixed up her account with mine. Maybe she thought she had permission. I called her. No answer. I texted. Nothing. Finally, I drove to her house. She was in the backyard, sipping lemonade like she didn't have a care in the world. Hey, I said, trying to keep my voice even. Did you use my bank account for anything recently? She looked up, totally calm. Oh, that. Yes. I meant to talk to you about it. You took $12,000. She blinked. Don't be dramatic. My jaw clenched. That was my emergency savings. She rolled her eyes. Nathan, it's for your sister's wedding. Don't be selfish. This is a once-in-a-lifetime event. We needed help with some of the vendors. You needed to steal from me? My voice cracked a little. I hated how emotional I sounded, but I couldn't help it. She sighed, like I was being the difficult one. You're not married. You don't have kids. You don't even own a home. What are you doing just sitting on all that money? That's when something inside me snapped. Not loudly, not with a bang. More like a hairline fracture that finally gave way under years of pressure. The disrespect. The entitlement. The way she acted like my life was just a resource to be mined for Hannah's benefit. I didn't yell. I didn't storm off. I just nodded. Okay, I said, and turned around. Because in that moment, I knew one thing with absolute clarity. If she thought I was selfish before, she hadn't seen anything yet. And that's when the real plan began to form. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the edge of my bed, the pale glow of my laptop illuminating my face while I stared at the bank statement over and over again. 12,000. Gone. My hands hovered over the keyboard as I started drafting a message to my mom. Something cold, sharp, final, but I never sent it. I deleted every draft. Every version either sounded too emotional or too forgiving. And the truth was, I didn't know what I wanted from her anymore. An apology? A refund? Respect? It was like trying to ask for oxygen from a vacuum. The next morning, I called the bank again to confirm the timeline of the transactions. Just hearing the dates made me wince. The withdrawals had started 3 weeks ago, right around the time she'd been extra chipper on the phone. I'd even remember her saying, "You've always been such a good son," in this syrupy tone she only used when she was buttering someone up. It was like she had premeditated it. Like she'd convinced herself that the money was hers to begin with. I didn't confront her again. I didn't drive over or make a scene. I just pulled away. But that didn't last long. 2 days later, I got a text from Hannah. Hannah, 2:42 p.m. Hey, can you Venmo me the $1 for the photographer? Mom said you were covering that, smiley face. I stared at the message for a full minute, rereading it like it might morph into something different. There were no pleasantries. No, how are you? No, sorry about the confusion. Just a money emoji and a smiley face. I typed back. Me. Did Mom tell you I offered to pay? Hannah. Well, she said you had it covered. She said you were helping out more since Brad and I have a lot going on. A lot going on. Bradley was an account manager at a regional beverage distributor. Hannah was freelancing as a lifestyle blogger, which mostly meant posting curated photos of coffees and mood boards and getting mildly irritated when brands didn't offer her free products. They lived in a downtown loft funded partly by a loan from my mom, one she insisted she'd be repaid for, even though we all knew better. I didn't respond. That evening, my phone started buzzing with texts. My aunt, my cousin, even Hannah again. Hey, did you really pull out of the wedding photographer? Are you mad? Mom said you were in a mood lately. We're only a couple weeks out, Nathan. Don't be dramatic. I didn't answer any of them. I sat in silence, watching the messages pile up, and I felt this cold, numb sensation creep into my chest like winter fog rolling over a frozen lake. I wasn't angry anymore. I was just done. But then came the moment that turned everything from a slow burn into an inferno. It was the Sunday before the final dress rehearsal. I got an invite to a family brunch at my mom's house. She said it was important. Everyone will be there. Against my better judgment, I went. Some stupid part of me hoped maybe, just maybe, they were planning to apologize. That there had been some kind of misunderstanding, and I'd walk in to find them ready to talk things through like adults. I walked into the kitchen and was immediately hit by the smell of French toast, bacon, and that cloying citrus candle my mom always burned when guests were over. The whole dining room was set up like a wedding magazine. Polished silverware, folded napkins, little paper name cards. Except there wasn't one for me. I stood there, awkward, holding a bottle of orange juice I'd picked up on the way. My mom turned around with a big smile and said, Oh, good. You're here. Go ahead and take a seat. Where? She blinked. At the kids' table. I looked over. In the living room, she'd set up a folding card table with 3 of my younger cousins, ages ranging from 9 to 14, already sitting and poking at their waffles. I let out a breath. Is this a joke? She narrowed her eyes. Don't start, Nathan. Just sit down. We don't have time for your moods today. I stood my ground. You want me to sit with the kids? Bradley appeared behind her, grinning like he'd been waiting for this moment. Come on, man, lighten up. It's just brunch. I wanted to launch the bottle of orange juice at the wall, but instead, I just placed it on the counter, turned around, and walked straight out. I didn't make a scene. I didn't yell. But as I pulled out of the driveway, my hands were shaking on the steering wheel. I could hear my heartbeat pounding in my ears. It wasn't about the table. It wasn't even about the money anymore. It was about the message. They didn't see me as family. Not really. I was the wallet. The silent investor in Hannah's dream life. The afterthought. The one who was supposed to give and give and give without asking for anything in return. That night, I called my best friend, Julian. He and I had been roommates in college, and if anyone understood my family dynamics, it was him. I told him everything, from the stolen money to the brunch humiliation, and he just listened, occasionally muttering, "Dude," under his breath. After I finished, there was a long pause on the line. Then Julian said something that snapped everything into focus. You know, he said slowly, if this were a business, and they treated you like this, you'd have walked out years ago. And just like that, the numbness faded. Because he was right. They'd been treating me like a business. A faceless account number. Not a brother. Not a son. And businesses have limits. Terms. Boundaries. When you cross those boundaries, you don't get more chances. You get consequences. The next morning, I scheduled a meeting with my bank. I brought every statement, every email, every screenshot of the transactions. The fraud department took it seriously, especially when I showed proof that I had never authorized joint access. The representative, a tired-looking woman named Erica, pursed her lips and said, "She's not on the account. You can absolutely press charges." I didn't say anything right away, just stared at the little gray monitor on her desk. I'm not sure if I want to go that far, I murmured, but I need control back. And that's when I found out something else. The florist? Already paid in full. The DJ? Deposits made. The venue? Still pending final payment. My mom had scheduled an automatic transfer for the following Thursday, another $3,000 from my account. She must have assumed I wouldn't notice. Or maybe she thought I'd be too passive to stop her. I canceled the transfer, froze online access, changed my passwords, added 2FA. Then I sat in my car in the bank parking lot for a long time, gripping the wheel and staring blankly at the dashboard. She wasn't going to stop. She was going to keep dipping into my account like it was her personal ATM until I either ran dry or exploded. And that's when I made a decision. If they saw me as the bank, I'd show them what happened when the bank closed. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to text her paragraphs or make teary phone calls. I was going to be surgical, strategic. I was going to make her feel the consequences, not just in dollars, but in the one thing she cared about more than anything else. Control. It started with a call to the venue. I'd overheard her mention the name a few times, some rustic estate with a vineyard outside of town. I called and asked for the event coordinator. I told them I was calling regarding the redacted wedding on the 21st. I explained, politely, that I had reason to believe funds for the wedding had been obtained without authorization and that I wanted to confirm whether my name was listed as a payer. She asked me to verify some details, then paused. Actually, yes. Your name is listed on the account. You paid the initial deposit back in March, correct? My heart sank. I had no memory of this. Then I realized my mom must have booked it using my info. My card. Without even asking. I asked if I could request a statement. She said yes. Then I asked a different question. Hypothetically, if the final payment doesn't go through, what happens? Well, she said carefully. Per our policy, the event would be canceled. We allow a 3-day grace period, but after that, the date is released. I thanked her and hung up. The grace period ended 3 days before the wedding, and I had no intention of letting that final payment go through. But I wasn't done yet, because what came next was bigger than the money, bigger than even the venue. It was the moment I stopped being their pawn and started becoming the player. And that moment, it came at the rehearsal dinner, which I wasn't supposed to attend, but I did. And what I found there turned everything on its head. I wasn't supposed to show up. The rehearsal dinner was invite only. I wasn't on the list. I knew that because Hannah posted the seating chart on Instagram with a cutesy caption that said, "Only our favorite people," and sure enough, my name wasn't anywhere on the chart, not even as a +1. It was like I'd vanished from their version of reality. But I had a gut feeling. A sick one. The kind of feeling that creeps into your stomach and makes a home there. I wasn't entirely sure what I'd find, but after everything, after the stolen money, the lies, the casual humiliation, I needed to see it with my own eyes. I needed to know just how far they were willing to go. So I went. Not to cause a scene. Not to get revenge. Not yet. I just wanted the truth. The dinner was held at this upscale Italian place on the edge of town. One of those spots with dim lighting, exposed brick walls, and a sommelier who makes you feel dumb for ordering soda. I dressed up, but not too much. Clean black slacks, button-down shirt. Neutral. Forgettable. When I walked in, the hostess gave me a confused glance. "Are you with the bride's last name party?" I nodded. "I'm Hannah's brother." She smiled politely, handed me a little gold place card, and gestured toward the back room. "Right this way." I took a deep breath, tucked the card in my pocket, and walked in. The room was buzzing. Laughter, clinking glasses, murmured compliments about the bride's dress. Bradley was at the head of the table, giving a toast about how family means everything. I scanned the room and spotted my mom at the center, glowing with pride like she was the one getting married. Hannah sat next to her, glowing for real. And then there was a moment, just a flicker, where Hannah looked directly at me. She froze, then looked away, didn't wave, didn't say hi, just turned back to Bradley and smiled like I didn't exist. I stood quietly in the back, watching, listening, and then I heard something that made me feel like the floor had been yanked out from under me. Yeah, it was crazy. Someone said 2 seats over. A woman I didn't recognize, maybe one of Bradley's cousins. Hannah told me her brother actually offered to cover the whole venue. Like, he just volunteered it. Isn't that wild? My heart skipped. "Oh yeah," my mom chimed in, her voice syrupy sweet. "He's always been a bit of a loner, but he has a good heart. I think he wanted to make up for all the years he wasn't around." The years I wasn't around? I was there. Every Christmas. Every Thanksgiving. Every birthday. I'd shown up to events even when I wasn't invited, just to stay connected. I helped Hannah move into 3 different apartments. I drove 6 hours once to bring her a replacement laptop charger when she called me sobbing before finals. I missed work for her. But none of that fit the story they were telling. So they rewrote it. I left before dessert. Didn't say a word. Just walked out into the cold night and sat in my car, staring at the dashboard with my hands gripping the steering wheel. That was the fall. Not the money. Not even the stolen wedding. It was realizing that my family had erased me. I'd been turned into a background character in a story I helped fund. That night, I went home, locked my door, and didn't speak to anyone for 3 days. Calls came in. I ignored them. Texts lit up my phone like a slot machine. I turned it off and left it face down on the nightstand. I called in sick to work and laid in bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling like I'd somehow failed at something I didn't even sign up for. It wasn't just sadness. It was something heavier. Shame, maybe. Or guilt. Like I'd let myself be used for so long that I didn't even know where my identity ended and their expectations began. I ordered delivery. I watched old cartoons on mute. I took long showers where I didn't bother drying off for half an hour after. It was like my body was moving on autopilot while my brain floated somewhere above me, watching everything with dull eyes. But slowly, something started to change. It wasn't dramatic. No movie moment. Just a little flicker. A voice in the back of my head whispering, "You're not crazy." Because I wasn't. I hadn't imagined the disrespect. I hadn't exaggerated the favoritism. It was real. Documented. Bank statements. Texts. Voicemails. Proof. And more importantly, I wasn't powerless. I remembered what Julian had said. If this was a business, I'd have quit. Walked away. Or sued. I opened my laptop and started digging. I reread the venue policy. Highlighted every clause. Took screenshots of the deadlines. I pulled receipts for every charge my mom had made. I made a folder labeled Operation Closure and dropped in every piece of evidence like I was building a case. Because I was. Not just against them, but for myself. For the version of me that had been stomped on for 27 years and told to smile through it. Then I did something I hadn't done in a long time. I went for a walk. It sounds dumb, But it helped. Just being outside, breathing cold air, seeing people living their lives who had nothing to do with mine. It reminded me the world was bigger than my family's narrative, that I wasn't trapped, that I could rewrite the story too. Over the next few days, I got my life in order. I canceled every automated access to my accounts, switched banks, changed passwords, got new cards, filed a fraud report, not to press charges yet, but to keep a paper trail. My bank confirmed what I already knew. She had no legal right to the funds. Then I emailed the venue one more time. I asked, politely, to be removed from any further communication about the event. I said I was no longer involved, that I had not authorized the use of my financial info and would not be making the final payment. The coordinator replied with a short, professional message. Understood. The remaining balance is due Thursday at 5 p.m. If not received, the date will be released. I stared at that line for a long time. If not received, I didn't need to do anything. I just needed to do nothing. Let the clock tick. Let the silence speak for itself. That week, I started going back to work. I focused harder than I had in months. Took on a new project. My boss noticed. Said I looked more grounded lately. Ironic, considering how hollow I'd felt just days earlier. But I think there's something stabilizing about finally letting go of people who treat you like a spare part, even if it hurts. Julian and I went out for drinks on Friday. He asked how I was doing, and I surprised both of us when I smiled. Better, I said. Just better. I shrugged. For now. We clinked glasses. He didn't push. That's the kind of friend he is. That weekend, I got a letter in the mail from my mom. No envelope. Just a folded sheet of printer paper stuffed into my mailbox. It was exactly one sentence long. Don't come to the wedding if you're going to ruin it. No love, Mom. No signature. Just that. I stared at the words until they blurred. Then I crumpled it up and tossed it in the recycling bin. I wasn't going to ruin anything. They had already done that themselves. And yet, as the wedding date crept closer, I realized I wasn't quite done. Not yet. Because while I had reclaimed my boundaries, protected my finances, and started to rediscover my self-worth, there was one more thing left unfinished. The story. Their story. The one where I was the quiet brother with a good heart, who funded everything and disappeared politely into the background. That version of events was still out there. Being told. Being believed. But not for much longer. Because I had something they hadn't counted on. A voice. And I was finally ready to use it. What I did next. Let's just say, it wasn't quiet. Here's the thing about revenge. It's not rage. Not always. Sometimes it's calm. Surgical. Methodical. Like building a chess trap 15 moves in advance and smiling while your opponent confidently walks right into it, thinking they're in control. And in this case, my opponent wasn't just one person. It was the narrative. The lie my mother and sister had crafted, fed to family, friends, and strangers. That I was the supportive brother. The quiet one. The generous one. The one who just smiled and paid. No questions asked. But here's the thing about stories. When you control the receipts, you control the ending. So I got to work. The final payment for the venue was due Thursday at 5 p.m. I marked it on my calendar with a big red circle. That was my clock. My deadline. The moment their house of cards would either fall or they'd scramble and pay the difference themselves, which was about $6,200. And I was willing to bet everything they couldn't. See, my mom had dipped into my savings because she couldn't afford the wedding she was throwing. She'd overcommit, overextended, told too many people too many things. This wasn't a backyard potluck. This was a 200-guest event with a string quartet, 3-course dinner, champagne tower, and a custom monogrammed aisle runner. They didn't just need the venue, they needed the fantasy. If it got canceled, it wouldn't just hurt their bank accounts. It would destroy the illusion. But I wasn't satisfied with just letting the clock run out. I wanted the truth to come out. Not through confrontation, through documentation. So I gathered every receipt. I created a new email address, anonymous, untraceable, with no name attached. I opened a fresh Google Drive folder and uploaded everything. Screenshots of the bank transfers, records of the florist and DJ payments made from my account, my fraud report confirmation, and even a PDF of the contract I'd obtained from the venue showing my name listed as primary payer. Then I wrote a short message. You might want to know where the money for this wedding came from. Attached are documents showing unauthorized charges made from my personal bank account by bride's mother for services relating to the bride/groom. Wedding. I'm not asking for anything. I just think you deserve the truth. I didn't send it to my mom. I didn't send it to Hannah. I sent it to Bradley. To his personal email, his work email, and, just for good measure, his mom. I found the address on Facebook. Took 5 minutes. I waited. The next day, I got a text from my sister. Hannah, 8:41 a.m., what the hell did you do? I ignored it. A second later, my phone rang. It was her. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. Then again. I finally picked up on the fourth ring. My voice was calm. Hey, you sent Bradley bank statements? She hissed. Are you insane? Did I say anything that wasn't true? That's not the point. You're trying to ruin my wedding. No, Hannah. I'm not trying to ruin your wedding. I'm trying to stop being used. There was a pause. I could hear her breathing hard on the other end. Then she said something that almost made me laugh. You don't understand how much stress Mom's been under. Oh, I understood. I understood exactly how much stress I had been under. Watching my own savings drain away while being told to smile and pose for photos with the people draining it. She stole from me, I said, keeping my voice even. I'm done pretending that's okay. You could have just talked to us. I tried. Remember brunch? When you let me eat waffles with the 9-year-olds. She was silent. I'm not your wallet, Hannah, I added. I'm your brother. And for the record, I never agreed to be your best man. You're not, she snapped. Perfect. I hung up. And that, I thought, was that. But the next day, something surprising happened. Bradley called me. I almost didn't pick up, but curiosity got the better of me. Hey, he said, his voice low and shaky. Can we talk? About what? I didn't know, he said quickly. I swear to God, Nathan, I didn't know about the money. Your mom told me everything was covered, but she never said it was coming from you. She made it sound like she'd taken out a loan. I didn't say anything. He continued. Listen, I know we're not close, but I just wanted to say I'm sorry. That's messed up. I talked to my parents. We're going to try and cover the rest of the venue if we can. But I had to tell you, man, I respect you for standing up for yourself. I was stunned, not because of the apology, but because it actually felt genuine. Thanks, I said after a beat. That means a lot. And for what it's worth, he added, I don't blame you for pulling out. I would have done the same thing. I ended the call in a daze. That night, I sat on my balcony with a cheap beer and stared at the city lights. The cold air felt good, crisp, honest. And then another thought crept in. I'm not done yet. Because while I'd removed myself from their narrative and let the final payment tick toward its doom, there was still one last card I hadn't played. See, when I'd initially checked with the venue, I'd asked if my name was listed on the account. The coordinator had said yes, that I had signed the initial agreement. I hadn't remembered doing that until I found the email. It was from my mom. Subject line. Can you e-sign this for me real quick? It had been one of those rushed mornings months ago, and I didn't even read the doc. Just clicked the link. Scrolled. Signed. That signature made me legally liable for the deposit, but it also made me technically the client, which meant I had the right to do something else. Change the booking. I called the venue again and asked if I could move the date. They paused. Well, technically, yes, as long as it's before the balance is paid. But we'd need written confirmation. I thanked her and hung up. No, I wasn't going to change the wedding date. But now I knew I could. The power dynamic had shifted completely. They wanted the fairy tale. They were going to have to beg for it. But I didn't want just power. I wanted clarity. So I did something that scared me. I called my mom. She picked up after 2 rings, voice clipped. What do you want? I want to talk. You've done enough talking. I took a breath. I'm giving you until Thursday at 5 p.m. to pay the venue balance. After that, they cancel. Your choice. You wouldn't. I already did, I said. Your access is gone. Your transfers are blocked. And if you try anything else, I will file charges. You ungrateful little son? Yeah, I know. I'm the ungrateful one for not letting you rob me blind. You're ruining Hannah's big day. No, I said steady. I'm just making sure it's no longer funded by theft. And then, before she could launch into another guilt-laced monologue, I hung up. I knew she'd never forgive me, but I also knew I'd finally stopped letting her control the script. Now all that was left was to wait. Tick, tick, tick. The clock was running. The week of the wedding, I didn't hear a word. No more angry texts. No late-night voicemails. Not even cryptic Facebook posts. Just silence. And silence, I've learned, is its own kind of scream. The absence of sound from someone like my mother doesn't mean peace. It means pressure. It means they're scrambling behind the scenes, trying to hold the illusion together before it shatters. Thursday at 5 p.m. arrived like the climax of a slow-burning thriller. I was at home, sitting at my desk, watching the seconds tick down on my computer clock. A cup of tea sat cooling beside me. My phone was on airplane mode. I didn't want a single notification interrupting the moment I took back everything they thought they had taken from me. At exactly 5:01, I opened the email from the venue. Subject: Payment status: bride/groom wedding, March 21st. Hello, Nathan. As of our 5 p.m. deadline, the remaining balance of $6,200 was not received. Per your request, the event has been canceled and the date has been released from our calendar. Thank you. Coordinator name, venue name, events team. I leaned back in my chair and closed my eyes. It was done. No fireworks. No dramatic music. Just closure. But the fallout? That came fast and loud. My phone, once turned back on, lit up like the Vegas Strip. Missed calls from my mom, Hannah, even my Aunt Liza, who never calls unless someone dies or forgets her birthday. And then came the post. Hannah took to Facebook that night with a tearful selfie captioned, "Heartbroken. After a year of planning, our dream wedding has been stolen from us. Please respect our privacy during this difficult time. Hashtag betrayed by family." Oh, the irony. The comments poured in. Cousins, old classmates, even random high school friends offering support. People speculating, asking what happened. And then, like vultures circling a dying lie, people started poking around, asking who stole the wedding. And because I'd already sent those files, because Bradley had seen the truth, cracks began forming in their story faster than they could plug them. The next day, Bradley's mom, a retired librarian with a penchant for setting records straight, posted a polite but pointed comment. "I'm so sorry for what you're going through. I hope the misunderstanding about the unauthorized use of funds gets resolved. It's unfortunate what some people will do when they think no one is keeping receipts." Boom. That comment got more likes than the original post. My inbox flooded again. And then, Bradley texted me. "Bradley, 9:17 a.m., you really did it, huh?" I replied, "Me? I just stopped paying for something I never agreed to." He didn't reply for a while. Then, "Bradley, I respect it. For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing." A few hours later, he changed his relationship status on Facebook to "It's complicated." And 2 days after that, Hannah deleted every wedding photo she'd ever posted, including the ones from their engagement party, bridal shower, and those obnoxious "we said yes to the venue" reels. By Sunday, the family group chat, once a constant stream of passive-aggressive planning and urgent updates, was silent, like a battlefield after the final cannon. But that wasn't the end. Because on Monday, I got a knock at my door. It was my mom. Her face was stiff, tight, not mascara-streaked or pleading, just cold. "You happy now?" she asked, stepping into the doorway uninvited. I didn't answer, just leaned against the wall with my arms crossed. "I hope this little tantrum was worth it," she said. "You've humiliated your sister, your family. I had to take out a loan to refund people's travel costs. Do you know how many deposits we lost?" I blinked slowly. "You mean my deposits?" She didn't flinch, just shifted her weight like a boxer resetting their stance. "You always think you're the victim," she muttered. "But you're not. You're just selfish, ungrateful. You wouldn't have what you have without me." That part got me. I straightened up and looked her in the eye. "No, I wouldn't have what I have because of you. I have it in spite of you." Her mouth opened slightly, like I'd slapped her. And maybe I had, just not with my hand. "You raised me to give and never ask why," I continued. "To believe that my job was to support everyone else while I starved for affection. You never taught me boundaries. You taught me guilt. And I finally outgrew it. You think you're better than us? I know I'm better than who you tried to make me." That silence again. Cold. Dense. Then she turned. "You'll regret this." "No," I said calmly. "I already regretted everything before this." She left without another word. And that, truly, was the last time I saw her. The aftermath unfolded slowly. Hannah and Bradley broke up a few weeks later. No public drama. Just a quiet unfollowing, a few cryptic quotes posted to Instagram stories, and eventually, silence. My mom told the rest of the family that I'd ruined the wedding out of jealousy. Some believed her. Others didn't. A few reached out quietly to say they understood, that they were proud of me for finally standing up for myself. But none of that mattered. What mattered was that I was finally free. Free from the narrative. Free from the guilt. Free from being the family ATM with a smile stitched to his face. I kept my job. Got promoted a few months later, actually. I used the money I saved from the canceled wedding to take a solo trip to the Pacific Northwest. Rented a cabin. Hiked through the trees. Sat by a fire at night with no cell service and just the crackle of pine logs to keep me company. For the first time in my life, I felt peace. No noise. No obligations. Just me. A few people still ask why I went to such lengths. Why I didn't just talk it out, or be the bigger person. But those people have never been slowly erased by their own family. They've never watched their own story get rewritten without their consent. They've never handed over parts of themselves, money, time, self-worth, only to be thanked with silence and expectation. My revenge wasn't explosive. It was quiet, steady, earned, and it ended not with their downfall, but with my freedom. That was all I ever wanted. And now? Now I finally have it. The bank is closed.